First, communities across New South Wales are facing another heartbreaking clean-up, with floods wreaking havoc across the state as the government declares a natural disaster. A relentless deluge.
This one was difficult because it came up so quick. Within 6 hours, I think we had 10 metres of water over the paddocks.
More than 200 millimetres of rain on Friday night caused the Warragamba Dam to spill, pumping 80,000 Olympic-sized swimming pools downstream every hour. By last night, riverside communities from the Blue Mountains to Wollongong were bracing for the worst.
It really was a very, very quick scenario, very fast. We weren't sure what the scale of it would be, but to see the water rise so quickly was so alarming.
By this morning, the SES had carried out around 200 rescues around the state. This Erskine Park man clinging to his submerged digger with waters rising fast. In the Hawkesbury, it's the 7th flood in the last couple of years, and the damage is taking its toll.
Our primary producers, our turf growers, our vegetable farmers, they are really badly affected by this flood.
I've had local residents and farmers on the phone to me crying. And of course, while we're still sitting there with a full dam and a predicted wet winter, this could happen any time we have 1 day's worth of rain, so we are pretty scared.
Warnings, blue skies don't mean the flood danger is over.
There's still a lot of roads cut and there's still a lot of danger out there, and that obviously will worsen as the night comes with the ability to see what's on the road.
Today, the state government declaring some areas natural disaster zones, meaning locals can now access public funds for the clean-up.
We may not have control over the weather, but what we can control is our response to it and the way that we support our communities and our people.
For the state government to say they're doing something is absolutely reckless, because there is nothing on the agenda to mitigate floods here in the Hawkesbury, and we deserve better.
Anxious locals asking for assurance from the state government that it's doing all it can to stop the flooding once and for all.
The state government is refusing that conversation. Politics need to be put aside, and the community here in the Hawkesbury needs to be looked after.
I mean, it's interesting, the comment there that the conversation's not happening. I mean, I think every time there are floods in New South Wales, particularly the Sydney area, this conversation arises, and it's been gone over time and time again. Different governments and parties have promised different things, but at the moment the New South Wales government is saying they're not going to do it because of how much it costs, how long it would take. They'd spend a few years looking at how to do it, first of all. It'd then take a few more years to actually achieve it. And so all of these communities that are there, whatever decision is made, nothing will change right away. It's a vexed issue because, you know, there's been building and development on floodplains. We know all of the issues with that. And this is an issue for us as a country, not just one part of one city.
And there are concerns as well if that dam wall does go up at a cost of $2 billion, which keeps increasing every time this conversation is had, that the water will just go back upstream and flood the World Heritage Blue Mountains, the park around there, and also impact some Indigenous archaeological sites. But people have been asking why the dam didn't release water ahead of the rain, because we had a lot of rain in Sydney. But it's not a flood mitigation dam. You can't do that, and hydrologists say that for what you get back, it doesn't give it enough room. And this is 80% of Sydney's drinking water comes from Warragamba Dam, so they've got to protect every drop in many ways. Yeah.
And of course, this story is hitting right across the east coast. A couple's had a lucky escape after the cabin they were staying in was washed away in Wollongong. 200 millimetres of rain had fallen in the Illawarra area by Saturday morning, causing a major flooding event. Neighbours who rescued the couple once the granny flat hit the bridge say they had a lucky escape. And Wollongong resident Lisa Csapo was one of the first on the scene. She joins us now. Lisa, looking at those incredible images, it's kind of hard to believe that anyone that was inside survived. Tell us what happened.
Yeah, I completely agree. So, you know, yesterday morning, it was quite early, just before 6, woke up to the heavy downfall of rain and just looked out my window, and no more than 10 seconds later, I see this cabin floating down the creek, and I knew it was from a neighbour's property, and I was just thinking, oh my God, and then I just watched it impact on the railing on the bridge, and saw what I thought were a couple of people kind of jump out the front door into the water that was raging across the bridge. And, you know, my husband immediately called emergency services, and I quickly put some clothes on and raced out the door.
So, Lisa, you throw some clothes on and run to the rescue. What did you actually do to help?
Well, when I got outside, I just saw this couple standing in the pouring rain, just shivering and really shocked and confused. And I said, "Are you guys okay?" And they just looked at me and they were like, "We just came out of that cabin." And I just thought, oh my God. And I thought, no, get inside my house. I'll give you a hot shower, find some clothes. And, the paramedics are on their way.
And so did the couple say when they knew what was going on?
It actually wasn't until a bit later when I was talking with them, I actually found out that they were visiting from Canberra, having been at a wedding earlier that day. And so they didn't know the area at all. And it wasn't, they told me until they were actually floating down the creek, which was about 100 metres from, where the cabin actually was from, that they woke up at the impact of the cabin hitting the railing. Wow. So you can imagine that's exceptionally confusing for anyone, but that is just so scary for them. And certainly when I was watching it, just couldn't believe my eyes.
This may seem like a stupid question, but how did they actually get out?
Well, it's one of those things where thankfully, given the orientation of the cabin, the front door actually opened up onto the road of the bridge that went over the creek. Wow. So they were able to jump out of that door into the water and then up to where, there was dry land, I guess, or dryish.
There's so many things that could have gone wrong for it to not end up that way. That's a lot for them to process. How were they after everything?
Oh, look, they were just in complete shock. And as you would imagine, because they were very disorientated, not knowing the area at all. And then to just, it's certainly not something that ever crosses your mind that you think you're going to be, jumping out of a cabin that you thought was in someone's backyard. But they were, apart from some scratches and bruising, these are two very, very lucky people to walk away from what could have been a much worse situation.
Lisa Csapo, thanks for your time.
Thank you.